Shalom, shalom. What's going on, family? How's everybody doing today? I am your brother, Haji Golightly. In the Israelite tradition, I'm known as Sar Dawid Yehuda of the tribe of Judah. Hey, man, I'm in a good place. I pray that all is well with you and with your family on this glorious day. I'm in just such a good place. I pray that you guys, let me check my mic levels. Hold on. Looks like I'm peaking just a little bit. I pray that everyone is in preparation of this feast season or preparing for whatever tradition that you honor during this time. But it's always a beautiful, typically a spring feast where everything is coming to life. But if you followed my last video, I'm advocating that we come to sacrifice, that we come to death. And that's some things that I'm going to share with everyone today. Blessed be Yah that always causes us to triumph. And there will be nothing different about your life as long as you follow and operate according to the mandates, the edicts, the dictates, the laws, the statutes, and the commandments that he has given us that was exemplified perfectly through Yahushua HaMashiach, our King and Savior. I bless him for allowing me to be the son of William, the son of Daniel, the son of Freeman, and the son of George. I honor the Most High for these great men. I stand on their shoulders because I came from a beautiful and a righteous environment, that being my matriarch, my mother. I honor her too. I thank you for my family and for their patience with me. So that being said, I want to talk to you, family, about being a dead man walking. A dead man walking. Now, this is an intentional allusion to, I believe it was a 1995 film with Sean Penn about a young man who was innocent of a murder and was later exonerated, I believe. But many of us have been on death row, or we've done things that are worthy of death. And if it had not been for the Father, we would have already expired. And if we keep that in context, that without him, we would already have passed because we've done things according to Torah that are worthy of capital punishment. What do I mean? We've done things. I've done things that would have gotten me stoned, that would have gotten me killed. And so because I know that I'm living on borrowed time, I'm a little more willing to sacrifice and to give of myself so that I could be used, so that I could be a vessel. And I believe that because you rocking with me, because you are connecting with me on a certain level, you're ready to do that same thing too. I do know that the things that I share are not central. I know that it's a little different than things that you may hear in the Israelite tradition. I accept that. But I have a particular group that I'm speaking to. I'm speaking to patriarchs that understand that the most revolutionary thing that they can do in these last days is to align their family in patriarchy, to command their family after them, to ensure that they are able to be a conduit of the success and the example of what the Father wants in the earth, because he never left himself without a witness. The question is, are you willing to be that witness? Everybody's not, brothers and sisters. Some people achieve a level of identity, and that's all that they want. I know who I am. I know that according to Deuteronomy 28 and 68 and Joel chapter 2 and so many other scriptures, who I am. However, that does not automatically stamp your ticket to be ready for the kingdom. There has to be a systemic overthrow of the God in your mind that has fashioned you into what you are. And until you are willing to die to that, I say we, I'm including myself, and I got on black today, family. I got on black because I'm attending a funeral. I'm hoping that some of y'all just expire right here on the video. Just gone, died. You were willing to get on the altar and sacrifice yourself. Please, man, I'm gonna have to, I will tag that video in the in the description, because it's gotten a lot of traction. And when I say traction, I don't mean views. I was sharing with a young occultee that is just desirous of the word, in terms of how we're not focused on the outcomes. We're focused on the obedience. And the obedience component requires that we do the things that he's told us to do. And what did he tell us to do? Die. Be willing to sacrifice in this season of Passover. And so I just want to say Chag Pesach, Chag Hamatzot, Chag Sameach, all of those. Happy Feast of Passover, Feast of Unleavened Bread. Just a happy feast season. Bless you. May the Most High reward you and strengthen you and give you greater wisdom and understanding, as well as resilience in these times, because there's so much that is upon us. However, those that connect to him will be provided for, will be taken care of, and will exemplify the nature, the character, and the understanding, the wisdom, the fruit of the Spirit. They're going to exemplify that. They're not just going to talk about it. They're going to be about it. And we have a lot of that. We got a lot of talking heads in the culture. Everybody has an opinion. Everybody got a perspective. So with that being said, let me welcome you to the Go Lightly perspective. That was a long intro, family. That was kind of long for me to make my way around, but I like to open myself up to be influenced by the Father and just share from the heart, because we know what he said. We know the commandments, but many do not know his heart and his will. See, will is just a little bit different than what he's commanded. I may tell my son, pick up my shoes. And that's the only commandment that I give him. The only directive, I would say. Now, I didn't tell him what to do with the shoe, where to place it. I didn't tell him any of those things, but a good son that knows the will of his father understands that the subtlety that is not spoken, that is not articulated. And I'm just trying to articulate a few of these things, because I don't have it all. I don't purport to be the greatest at anything. I don't purport to be this magnificent, scholarly academic that can pull so many different references and academic peer or produce peer-reviewed academic literature. I don't espouse that. But what I do espouse and what I do submit to you is that I want to be a servant of the Most High that was obedient even unto death, that I might inspire a generation that will walk in the ways of the Most High without any trepidation, without any fear, no cause for alarm. If he said it, I believe it. We can do it. We are well able to take the land. We are well able to redefine ourselves, not for ourselves, but for him. We live, move, and have our being in him, because Torah, the instructions, are in our heart. Oh, man. Family, I'm dressed in all black because we're going to have some funerals. I've been mourning. I've been praying, asking the Father to use me, burn me, so that I could be a sweet smelling aroma in your nostrils. Burn me. I want to say shalom and blessings be upon the house of Alexander, Charles Alexander, my uncle. He passed May the Most High have mercy upon him and grant him the desires of his heart. I love my uncle. He was special to me. A great historian, a great, he was just a man. He just passed away, and it grieved me. But my uncle was, when I tell you he was a man's man, he was not able to be, if he wanted to do something, he was going to do it. Didn't care what you felt about it. And he wasn't doing it to try to hurt your feelings or be contrary or to be dismissive, but he was a man. He lived like it and he died like it. And I respect him and I speak honorably of him. And I pray that his sons and his daughter do the exact same thing. And I know that they will. So let's jump right into this, family. I'm already into it. You know what I mean? I'm already talking about funerals and being dressed in all black. Black is just so powerful. And I just love black. It's one of my favorite shades, one of my favorite colors. But in this season, family, it's so imperative that we all must die. So you ask, well, Dawid Haji, what do I have to die to? You got to die to your ego. You got to die to your pride. You have to die to your perversion. You have to die to, if you hadn't died already, to pornography. You got to die to profane and defile ways. You got to die to not keeping the commandments. You got to die to a proud look, to lying lips, to hands that shed innocent blood, to feet that be swift to run to mischief, to being one that sows discord amongst the brethren, to all that stuff you have to die to. That's the imperative. That is the commandment, that we die to these things that we might be able to live to them. You have to die to breaking the commandments. Die to not keeping the Passover. I grew up a apostolic Pentecostal. They would keep certain feast days. They would keep Pentecost. Pentecost, we have it every year. I remember the song. They will keep Pentecost. And then I came to the knowledge of the identity and keeping the Moed, the feast days. And I'm like, well, y'all celebrate Pentecost, which is, the 50 days, 7 full Sabbaths and a day. So why don't y'all keep Passover? Why don't you start from there, from the very first feast? Because it's not my feast. It's not the Israelites, the Hebrews' feast. It's the feast of the Most High, is his Passover. And if you want him to pass over you in time of judgment, I talked about that on the last video. Consider the environment. Judgment is throughout the land. And if you want him to pass over you so that you might be able to participate in the Exodus, going into the wilderness, being willing to be purged out. However, I'm trying not to be purged out in the wilderness, because I read in John where it says that he that hath this hope in himself purifieth himself even as he is pure. You got to die to do that. To purify yourself, even as he, who is he? Who was our greatest example? The sinless, blameless lamb that was slain before the foundation of the world, that was in the image and likeness of his Father. Yet he was not his Father. Purify yourself even as he is pure. And if you look at the process of purification for the Messiah, you understand that required selflessness. You had to kill your self-will. There could be no sense. There could be no ideation of self-preservation. Where did these ideas come from? Self-preservation. The idea that the organism must use its instincts to preserve its life, to ensure that it continues to reduce any harm to it, to reduce the likelihood of death. Self-preservation. However, he in whom we are trying to purify ourselves in a likeness of says that if you love this life, you're going to lose it. But if you lose this life, you're going to gain it, and that life eternal. Are you willing to lose this life? You only lose it by dying and sacrificing for it. It requires your volition, your choice to get on the altar in this season. Don't just look at the lamb. Don't just consider the bitter herbs and the unleavened bread. And, we can look at the leaven as the mindset and the sin that many of us have about being like him. He was willing to put himself to the side to say, Father, nevertheless, not my will, thy will be done. That even if it costs me my death, even if it costs me some friends, if it costs me my wife, if it costs me my children, I'm willing because you are more important. Now, I don't hate my father and my mother, my wife, nor my children, but I'm willing to lose it all for him. You can't get to that resolution if you're not willing to die. If you're not willing to hold on to him above and beyond anything, you are not fit for the kingdom. Now, these are the words of the King of Kings that is going to reign and rule in Jerusalem, in New Jerusalem. And I'm not talking about Ukraine. Oh, that's a whole nother shot fired. The Messiah was selfless in his sacrifice. And all he wanted to do was the will of the Father. And even if we look at, I want to look at Psalms 40 and 7 real quick, family. Psalms 40 and 7, if you will. Psalms 40 and 7. This was the mindset of him that came, and now we have to be in him, a part of his body. But you can't be in him. You can't be in him if you think and believe anything other than the ways that he thought and believed and acted. Or you're outside of him. You're not in him. But when you in him, you can say, then said I, lo, I come in the volume of the book as it was written of me. See, what doth hinder you? Let me unbutton my jacket. Yeah, let me get a little more comfortable. What doth hinder you? What has hindered you from getting on the altar and dying? See, everybody can't come in the volume of the book because they may just be, we only believe in the New Testament, or we believe in the Old Testament, and we believe that, but we don't believe in the Messiah, whatever. I'm not getting into that. The question is, what doth hinder you from being sacrificial for your family, O patriarch? What is hindering you from being sacrificial for your family, matriarch? You could be a widow. Your husband could have expired and passed. You may have never had a husband, and you want a husband. So you have to emulate certain characteristics and then maybe get an older woman like Ruth did to teach you the ways so that you can get you a Boaz. Yeah. I like that. If you have any exception to the volume of the book, if you say that was for then, this is for now, you're not coming in the volume of the book. You're sectarian. You began to divide. And then we know what happens when you start to divide and conquer. You make excuses for why you can't be what our ancestors were. And then you wonder why you can't do what our ancestors did. If you don't do what they did, You're not going to receive the power that they had, the power of a dedicated life, the power of the Father telling them what time to get up and move, telling them where to go, how long to be there, where to stay. If you don't have that level of dedication to the Most High, that means that you are still alive. You are not a dead man walking, and you need to die. Dead men tell no tales. Tell no lies. Dead men have no will. So they can come in the volume of the book and do the things that have been required by the greater. He says, lo, I come in the volume of the book as it is written of me. Verse 8, I delight to do thy will. Do you delight to do the will of the Father? If you don't take delight in it, you need to die. Matter of fact, you need to die every day for the rest of your life. And for those that don't understand wisdom, wisdom is plain to wisdom is plain to those that have understanding. I'm not talking about your physical death, because we all have an appointment. I don't know what that is, but boy, I'm trying to redeem the time. I want him to take pleasure, delight in me. And that's why I take delight in him to do his will. I lost my will, my dreams, my ideation, my philosophical approaches toward life, my economics, how I understand law, labor, politics, sex, religion. All of that has been filtered through the Israelite tradition that has been given to me by my fathers. And I lost the will to try to do it any other way than the way that he says. Of course, there's nothing wrong with having desires, but make sure that your desires are aligned with him, family. Are you desiring a cursed thing? Are you desiring something that he says that will not be? Have you limited it to 2022? I'm a 2022 Israelite. I'm not like those ancient people. Well, I want to tell you, I am. And I'm proud of it. I was only able to get back to that consciousness because I was willing to die. And I believe you are willing to die too. And when you die, when I died, I was able to think like Abraham. That consciousness, that mindset was able to rest upon me. A lot of it being interpreted, lived, and displayed by my elder, the Honorable Dr. Thomas Murray. I love him beyond words. Changed my life irreparably. I lost my will to the will of a greater. And I understand why. Because it was always in me. And when you die and you honor those that have come before you, you can get back. Some of those say, man, I'll never bow to a man. Hey, don't. I'm not telling you to. I'm telling you what I did. Because everything that you've learned from a man. Some people like to portray that they get all these downloads from the Most High. Hey, maybe so. Far be it for me to say anything otherwise. But the fruit is going to speak for itself. The Father always used a man. Can he use you? He always used a woman. Can he use you, O daughter of Zion, to represent him in the earth? And that is not a popular position. That may get you unfriended. That may not get you a bunch of likes if you look at if you choose to do so. I appreciate it if you would like and share the video. Hit the thumbs up on it. Bless you. Make a comment. Let's share. I tend to engage. But if you do these things, you share these things and you start acting like Ruth, giving up your previous culture for the Israelite culture. That mindset of your ancestors that is in your DNA will take hold of you. It'll embrace you. It'll envelop you. That ancient wisdom will begin to come upon you. But let's get back to this. The Psalms 40, he said that I come to do thy will. I come in the volume of the book. I love that, the whole element of volume, where it speaks to something. I believe it's pronounced Megillah. It volume speaks to something that's rising. That is this great thing. It's emerging and it's ascending, and it begins to teach, or is willing to be put on display for all to see, to be appreciated also, just like the Passover lamb, to be evaluated. Are you able to be evaluated? Because after you die, you're able to be evaluated. People can see the fruit of your life. And a lot of people look at that fruit, or the mark of being an Israelite, the mark of being a Hebrew, is your scholastic endeavors, your academic excellence, the things that you put forth, your knowledge, where I would say that that's not the case. That the litmus, the identifying marker, is one's obedience. Obedience to Torah, obedience to the word and to the will of the Most High, being willing to die, just like our ancestors who said, I delight to do thy will, O Elohim. Yea, thy law is in my heart. When the law is in your heart, you're willing to do that which is required. You look at the life of Abraham, you look at the life of Isaac, and you're willing to be bound head to legs, just like that Passover lamb. Bound to be that sacrifice for your family. I'm willing to be bound for him. Are you willing to be bound head to leg and be roasted with all the pertinence, all the vital organs, everything that's vital to your existence? Put it on the altar and let the Father have it, and let him consume it, and they give you back something greater. Because when Torah is in your heart, you're more willing to get on the altar. Just go on and die. Go ahead. Stop fighting. You're fighting the very thing that will be your life. You're fighting the thing that is intended to sustain you. You're fighting it. The very thing that you're fighting is the very thing that you need. And once you stop fighting it and you go ahead and die, you'll be transformed. You'll become a new creature. Behold, all things become new when you are transformed by the renewing of your mind. Old things are passed away. Let those old thoughts, those old understandings, those old scriptural breakdowns that's not even relevant anymore, let that stuff go. Don't hold on to it. That's what happens when you're in him. In him, not outside of him, being in him. See, you can have your identity, you can have your religion, you can keep this Passover, this feast of Chag Hamatzot, feast of unleavened bread. You can keep it and still not be in him and be a castaway, because you're unwilling to do what he did, and that was to die. You got to be willing to die. You got to be willing to do the things that he's required of you. You got to be willing to walk upright before him. You got to be willing to get on the altar, because when you're willing to get on the altar, that's when everything changes, family. When you're no longer concerned with self-preservation, trying to keep your life, you know that for me to live is Hamashiach. For me to live is Christ, and to die is gain. I gain him when I lose me, lose you. You ain't that special. You were made in the image of Los Angeles, made in the image of Atlanta, made in the image of a black man, made in the image of those that were the fruit of slavery, that was taught to value music that denigrates your women, taught to value clothing and labels that do nothing for you but make you feel a certain way. Yeah. You were taught to eat certain foods, to value certain things, to eat abominations and things that destroy your health, yet take delight in it, to get you to participate in your own extermination. That's a lot of what black culture is, and that's what you gotta die to. I'm encouraging you, family. In my black, go on ahead and die. I'm telling you, it had to come through me first because I've been willing to die. Been willing to walk away from people, walked away from people in the culture because they weren't trying to walk up right before y'all. And that means me and you got to go our separate ways. I still love you. I got an honorable reputation amongst them. At least I try. I'm trying. But when you're willing to die to get on that altar, the Father will use you. It's something about those near-death experiences when people come out of that thing different. When you die, literally die, you come back different. You got a story to tell. And I'm here to tell my story because I died. And after you die and you rise, because after death ain't nothing but resurrection, and you're ready to rise, and the Father will use you, and then you be ready to go out there and do that which is required. And you'll make your little victory lap. You'll feel energized. You have a smile on your face. Things that used to break you down, that used to cause you to cry, won't cause you to cry no more when you die. The people that bothered you, they won't bother you no more because now you're ready. You walk in your victory lap. You walk in and get grave clothes, and you understand that everything that's in you has been purged, and you can walk with your head up because you know you've emerged victorious. Glorious, because that's what's on the other side of your sacrifice. That's what's on the other side of your death, family. Woo! Is your glorification, your beauty, the beauty for those ashes, the things that have been consumed. Oh man, if I could teach it, if I could preach it, oh man, you'll be on your victory lap, family. It's time. This is a solemn time. Consider all things that have gone forth. Consider your ways. Being willing to die. Being willing to be used. Being willing to be bound head to legs like that lamb so that you can be, as my brother, I can't remember his name, the elder on the video with our brother Demetri Pruitt. Love that brother. Unless you're willing to be that ascending offering. Are you willing to be that? To sacrifice all that you are for him? That's what I'm encouraging, family. I love you. I bless you. It requires a lot. Don't just externalize. Look at the inner cup, not just the outer cup. We got the commandments. We know what to do for Passover and Chag HaMatzot. But are you getting the leaven out from within you and doing the things that he's required to understand his will and not your own? And when you do that, you'll be a vessel of honor and not a vessel of dishonor. Blessings to your house. Please like, share, subscribe to the channel, because we're going to continue to put forth this Go Lightly perspective, a perspective that was given to me, and now I'm required to share. Blessings to your house. May the Father enrich you. May his face always shine upon you and lighten your countenance. May your garments always be white. Hallelujah. Shalom, shalom.